Good.
Good. The world is crazy.
World just keeps turning.
Where's your son right now? Is he still
Florida?
overseas?
No, he came
Florida.
back from Japan and he's in Virginia now.
Good.
Oh, Virginia.
Yeah, Williamsburg.
I've got a nephew who's out in California, and and I've tried telling people this, and I'm not saying that a nephew is the same as having a son, but you've got skin literally in the game when it comes to the foreign policy and what this president is about, etc. You've got skin in the game. That's your son. I've got a nephew. It's I have a lot more faith in President Trump when it comes to making decisions than I do all of those Dick Cheneys and
Imagine if Kamala.
right. She doesn't care. Why the hell would she care? She doesn't know anybody she's going to send to war. I mean,
No, it should be. Give me another cocktail. This is
give me
awesome.
another cocktail and tell that damn kid quit being mean to other people who don't agree with him. And, we need to get another DEI officer to tell him what to do. And this country, I think, I hope that we're going to look back on this time in life and just say, you know what? This country just freaking lost its mind for a while. And now we're kind of getting back to the way things
Well,
should.
Dr. Turley, I watched a video this morning. He said the people changing their voter registration from Democrat to Republican is off the scale right now.
Good, 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 good.
In all 30 states that track it.
Wow. And where was it? Where did you see that?
Dr. Turley, I'll send you the link to the video.
That would be great because you know what? That is such good news. And in fact, I had a conversation with somebody out in the, a hallway, and I was saying that, I've just got to believe that there are going to be a lot of Democrats who can just say, you know what, this is too far. This has become just too bad, too vile. This doesn't represent me. And I may not love Trump or whatever, but I do love America. I do want this to be a great country. I don't want to, live in a country where just because you disagree with somebody, you're going to get shot and killed.
What?
Go ahead.
Do I use the one you've been? Let me see. Oh yeah, I got it. Okay. I haven't done it before on the iPad. Okay, I just sent you that link.
Richard's one of the few people with an AOL account still.
I know, right? I am.
I texted it to your phone.
Oh, even better. I just let my phone go off wherever it's at, somewhere here. All right. Let me get my clock up here one more time. One more time.
Did you get it?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I'll make sure. Dr. Steve.
And that's good because that's something I don't, I would not have known that. I don't follow Dr. Steve. So, all right. You would think I would just bookmark the one clock that I do use. And I think I have in the past. For some reason, I
probably have seven.
I probably do have 7 tabs open for it. All right. I'm good. I'm ready whenever you are, Barb.
I just sent you a picture of Bo.
Oh, wait, now I lost my phone again. Hang on one second. Where the hell? Oh, there it is. See, the question is, does she love the dog more than the son? Because
I think it's my son's dog.
Gosh, dang,
we're just the grandparents.
So well, look at that face.
5 months old.
How in the world can you not like that face?
He's a handful. He thinks I'm his hurting victim.
Tries shepherd. How are you feeling your elbow?
It's getting better. It's
Good.
slowly getting better. It's, just certain things I can't do, but I'm glad I don't have to wear a cast or have surgery. I'm very grateful for that.
I would have to say, I mean, that's because I've had to do that. I don't even know that it made much of a difference. I'm kind of like you did. I had a sling and I used that for a while to try to make sure that I wasn't using it very much. And then I had, everybody's different. No, don't do that because if you do that, then it'll kind of freeze up because you're not moving it. And I'm like, okay, everybody's got a theory on this thing except for me. That is a cute dog, though. That is no doubt about it.
I'll send it to DJ if I can figure it out.
Or you know what? I can do that. I can do that. In fact, let me do that right now. I can send it to him quicker than you know what to do because I've already got him loaded here. In fact, I just sent it to him. Jeez. I will say this is an interesting perspective because he is skinnier than I thought. From the side, he looks so big from the side. And then front on, it's like, well, he is huge, but he's not like rotund or anything like that.
No, he didn't take on the body composition of a Bernese mountain dog. It's more golden.
Yes.
Even his fur is more and more golden,
Oh, look at that, sweetie.
but it's not golden color. He's got a little bit of red in his hind. He's got kind of woolly mammoth butt. But
that's the first time, Barb, I can tell you that the first time anybody has ever used the term woolly mammoth butt to my knowledge.
You better coin it.
It's pretty good.
Put a trademark on that.
Right. Okay, so here we go. Wait. Why do I do this to myself every dang time? You enjoy it. I'm going to leave this here because I don't even have the time. I have the clock up and it doesn't make much difference. I mean, DJ is the one who needs the clock the most. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I'm just going to drop out of the dang thing. Or wait, you know what? I can do it on my phone. What am I bitching about?
Well, you listen anyway, Richard. Just
I do.
listen.
Yeah.
I'll give you the clue.
All right, here we are. Now I've got it on my phone. Right. I'm good to go. Barb, how about you?
Yep, I'm ready.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot. And Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search for Barb on most of the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, as well as others. Every week, Your Real Estate Voice covers great information about the housing market and one of most people's largest assets, the home. Barb, what are we going to be covering today?
Well, Richard, the first topic is whether or not now is a good time to sell your home in Colorado or not. And I think a lot of people assume that there's just one or maybe two selling seasons, but actually homes are sold year round. So we will give you some tips on whether or not now is a good time, and also some ways where you could win no matter what the season is. And then the next topic is going to be, can a home seller change their mind about selling a house after they've accepted a written contract? A lot of people assume that, well, can't I just get rid of this buyer if they're giving me trouble? And that gets a little bit tricky, but we'll talk about that in depth on how the state contracts are structured. And then the third topic is, how do you sell your home for the most money? It's probably the number one question I get from home sellers, besides what is my home worth and what do I need to do to get my house ready for sale? how do I get the most money is what most people want. And it's going to be different than you think. A lot of people think if I price it high, doesn't that leave me room for negotiating room? But actually, that could work against you in many ways. So we're going to go into some detail about that. And last but not least, a very important one are we're going to go over the top seller mistakes that can actually cause your home not to sell. Not every home that goes on the market actually sells. So we're going to talk about some things that you can avoid to make sure your home gets sold in a reasonable amount of time. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, we're heading into that autumn selling season, winter after that. The Fed keeps going back and forth in terms of what they're going to do with interest rates. But what kind of a market are we in right now, Barb? A buyer's market where the buyer has the advantage, or a seller's market?
Well, I'd say the answer is yes. It really depends on how the seller positions the home. We're kind of teetering right between a buyer and a seller market right now. On average, it's taking about 4 months to sell a typical home, but the days on market are less than that. The average days on market of the sellers that are getting contracts. So that's something to keep in mind. Not every home gets contracts. So if they're not getting contracts, there's something wrong. It's either pricing, marketing, or a combination of both. And the interest rates have come down quite a bit. We're very, very close to our 52-week low right now. And they actually went down a little bit this week. Mortgage rates right now, basically the reason why those are important is that most buyers are purchasing homes based on how much payment they can afford. And interest rate plays a very key role in that. And if they are afraid that the rates are going to go up, or if they're afraid that the prices aren't coming down enough, the buyers are just going to sit on the sidelines and not buy. And we're seeing that. What the statistics indicate that about a third of the home buyers out there are just sitting on the sidelines, waiting for the rates to drop, or waiting for the prices to come down. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you've got a whole bunch of home sellers that are sitting on very low 30-year fixed interest rates. So if they decide to make a move into either downsize or upsize, the problem is with the rates more than double what they are paying right now, it could be unaffordable for them to make a move. I just met with a home seller last week that told me their 30-year fix was like 2.5%, which is almost like free money. It's amazing. So I can understand people's reluctance to move in that scenario. So you want to put your home on the market when it works for you. So I wouldn't worry too much about the season. Yes, the springtime or early summer, that tends to be the time period in a given year when the home sellers' homes are selling faster and potentially for a little bit more money, but it's not that much different. If you look at where the home values have gone over time, the prices are just kind of slowly ticking up year over year. So the key is whenever you do put your home on the market, you want to be the best home at the best price. And that's the way you get the most money. And what's interesting now, which didn't used to be the case before, is that buyers are very well educated on whether or not that home represents the best home at the best price for what they are looking for. So a home like that in the area, they know the market like the back of their hand, and they can sense if it's a good buy and a home that they want. And those are the homes that sell more quickly. So I would tell buyers, don't wait for the rates to drop even lower. I think it will help happen. A lot of the experts are saying that the rates are going to go down into the fives, potentially, maybe by next summer. But the problem is if that happens, all these 30% of buyers are going to come out of the woodwork and go, hey, it's time to buy. And then we're going to be in a situation where the people that are on the market at that time is going to drive those prices back up again because they're going to have competition. And that's why I wouldn't wait. I think your best buys are available right now if I was a buyer. So just to give you kind of statistical data on what's going on county by county, it was kind of fun to look at a different resource today. And I discovered that in El Paso County, the number of available homes year to date, it has gone up by about 12%. And at the same time, the prices have gone up about 2%. So that's pretty interesting to me. In Teller County, though, it's a different story. Inventory's only up by a small amount, but the prices have gone down by 4%. Now, some of what goes on in Teller County has to do with the season. So in the summertime, that is definitely the prime time to sell. If you're selling in Teller County, because all the people that don't live in the mountains come and visit and they fall in love, and that's when a lot more houses get sold. However, homes do sell in Teller County year round. The key is to be priced right for the market at the time. Douglas County inventory is up by Colorado Springs, or El Paso County inventory. They're up by 16%. Yet at the same time, the median sales price has gone up by over 1%. A little different story down in Pueblo County. The number of available homes has really surged up by 35%, but the average price has dropped by about 6%. Now, keep in mind that if you look back over, if you kind of spread out over a long period of time, real estate in general goes up over a long period of time. But we kind of had this big spike in values between 2020 and 2022. We had just the opposite happen during the meltdown back in 2008, where we dipped about 25%, then came back up again, and then surged another 40 to 50% during the boom. So the prices basically exploded during that short peak period when the rates were like 2 and 3%, and everybody was bidding on properties. So that the prices have not really corrected that much since then. Kind of the worst case scenario has been a overall flattening of prices over the last couple of years. What I predict is going to happen over the next year, if we see the rates continue to creep down, the prices are going to start back up again. So I believe that buying a home is a good investment no matter what, but you can't plan on flipping it in a year or two and making a profit. It's a buy and hold strategy for a longer term, 3 to 5 years or even longer. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about whether or not now is a good time to sell a house in Colorado. And next up, we're going to talk about why now is a great time to sell a house. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. I have lots of buyers. Typically, I can match about 1,000 buyers that are a high match for your home when we meet, and we sit down and do a free in-home consultation on helping you get ready for sale, give you a really good idea what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Just give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the whether or not now is a good time to sell your home here in Colorado. Many people think that there's only one real selling season in the state. What determines a good or a bad time to sell a house right here in Colorado?
Well, let's talk about the bad times. Okay. The bad times are when mortgage rates are really high. So what is high right now? I mean, if you go back to the 70s or 80s, kind of 80s is when I've seen data for this local area. Back then, the rates were probably in the 80s. They were what, 12% or something? I know that's when I first entered the real estate market as a buyer. And since then, I remember when I started in real estate in the 90s, when the rates dropped down to 7, everybody was all excited because the rates hadn't been that low in such a long time. Right now, the 30-year fixed for conventional is at 6.25%. And the government loans, FHA, VA, et cetera, they're at 6%. So are the rates high? No, they're kind of on the low side right now. They're actually close to the 52-week low. Another bad time to sell might be when you recently refinance. Now, the only reason that would be bad is if typically when you refinance, there are expenses. Now, the lenders make it sound like, oh, don't worry, it won't cost you anything out of pocket. But the truth is, you're rolling in all those closing costs into that refinance. It could be as much as $10, maybe $15,000 that you're tacking onto your mortgage. So if you're going to turn around and sell it right away, you're working against yourself. You might have saved $100 or $2, maybe $200 a month on your payment. However, if you're going to sell it pretty soon, you've also put about $10,000 on your loan. So that won't help you in terms of net proceeds. And the problem right now, as I mentioned, that there are a lot of people that are locked into the pre-pandemic, very, very low interest rates, and they don't see any reason to sell right now. So the people that are selling, they're pretty serious, I think. Another time that's kind of a bad time to sell is if the home needs work. So if your goal is to maximize the money, then start working on any major repairs and cosmetics if you can. You don't have to do everything, but you want the house to look move-in ready. Now, the exception to that is, let's say you just want to sell it as is and price it below the current market for that home. That can work. We just did that for one of our sellers that said, hey, this is an inherited home. We're going to sell it as is. I said, okay, there's a price for that. So we priced it probably maybe about 5 to 10% below current market value. And it ended up selling for $20,000 over asking price. But in general, the housing supply is kind of where it was before 2020. Although still to this day, over 18% of homes are selling above list price. That means that they priced it right to begin with. So I think a good time to sell right now would be when the mortgage rates dropped. And guess what? That just happened. Another good time to sell is if you have to sell. People sell homes year round. So if you need to for your family changes or you want to be closer to family, let us help you do that. We can do that in any market. And the key is to make sure you price it right, prepare it properly, and hire the agent that can help you promote the home to get top dollar. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing, can a Colorado home seller change their mind after they accept an offer? Barb answers that question when we come back. Oh, geez. All right. Hang on one second.
On that one.
I'll be right back here.
Can you fit that in, DJ?
We'll figure it out.
What happened yesterday? You guys had the Echo Brothers going on.
It was only during the last part of that first segment, and it was the satellite programming that was coming in for Vince.
Oh.
And it was something that their producers did on their side, and there was no way we could correct it. We ended up calling Westwood One, and they're like, yes, we know.
We know, we're on it. My husband was whining about it. That's why I mentioned it.
No, I appreciate that, because what if we didn't know, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are times when things happen, you know, and you may not know about it. Thousand years ago, I tried to get my FCC license, but I didn't understand the test. I just never passed the test. Because you had to
All right.
troubleshoot a transmitter schematic to get a
Uh-huh.
job at a radio station.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure it out. I
Oh,
tried
I
twice.
did it.
Huh?
I did it. I did it. I still have my license.
You passed?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do they
Yeah.
still require that?
No.
I didn't think so. I did not think so on that one.
But I remember the training. They said, "Oh, silence on a radio station's a bad thing."
Dead air.
Well, and and I can tell you, well, at least I think I can tell you that the truth is that for the business side of things, yeah, it's horrible because that means they're not making money. So,
Yeah.
And it's all about every minute that is silent is a minute that could have been money, but wasn't money.
Well, for every 10 seconds that you're off the air, it takes people an hour to come back to you.
Wow. That's bad.
Is that right? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's very bad.
That's how the statistics go.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm good to go here. Barbara, are you good?
I'm good.
Robert Redford died.
I know. It's sad.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, it's funny because I've seen, not many, but I've seen a couple of people bashing him because he was from Hollywood and he was more left leaning. And I assume that he is, but I don't remember him being real vocal politically one way or another, quite honestly.
And I respect that. I don't care what they think. I don't want to hear what their politics are. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Just say your part and,
read the lines on the cue card. Come on.
Well, and and all of these people, I mean, they're losing money every time they do that. I don't know what they're thinking, but
not very smart.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. You got a clock? I'm good to go. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner-broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if folks can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or go ahead and search for Barb. You'll find her on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Barb, a real estate sale is a business and a legal transaction that must be in writing. I know that contracts can be a little bit intimidating for some folks, so help us with this. Can a home seller change their mind after accepting an offer here in Colorado?
Well, Richard, as you can imagine, just like it's a very tenant-friendly state, it's also a very buyer-friendly state as well. So in this state, all licensed agents have to use the state forms that were provided to us by real estate attorneys. And I think the idea is to make the actual contract to buy a house, quote, understandable. But I find that a lot of agents either don't pay attention or they lack understanding of the contract. And that's a problem. I think when you're signing a contract, you need to understand what you're signing. Right now, it's over 20 pages long to sign a contract to purchase a home. The state doesn't require us to explain it to our customers. Now, I do anyway, because it's one of the most important purchases of their lives. So I think it's very important to explain it and make the buyers feel comfortable as well as the sellers in what they're signing. But the way the state has been set up the contracts, it's a very, very buyer-friendly type of contract. They have 8 different ways to back out of the contract and get their deposit back. In fact, they can go, if they're not protected properly, the buyers can go all the way to the finish line and walk away at the closing table and get their earnest deposit back. That's how bad it is in the state of Colorado. It's not the same everywhere else, but in general, what makes this difficult for home sellers during the process, and I've had many of them tell me they hate the process, is that here they are, they've accepted a contract, they're happy, they know they're going to their next move, they're planning their move, they're breaking down their house to get ready for their move. All the while, the buyer is doing what they call due diligence. So the buyer can bail out if they don't like their loan, if they don't get approved for their loan, if they don't like the title work, if they're not happy with the survey, if it's required, if they don't like the HOA, if they don't like the inspection, if it doesn't pass appraisal, and they just don't change their mind. They have all these different ways to bail out, where the seller is packing, getting ready, thinking they're going, and then, they may or may not make it to the finish line. And that's very nerve-wracking for most home sellers. And the other thing that a lot of sellers will ask me is, okay, if I accept a contract with this buyer who seems potentially financially shaky, right? Can I accept other offers? Well, you can accept a backup offer, but once you accept an offer from the primary buyer, they are in what they call first position. In other words, that contract either has to fail before you can pivot to another buyer, or you can put them in a backup position, like if it's a contingent contract. I'll tell a story about this because the word contingency used to always confuse me before I really understood contracts. But basically, it was probably back in the late 90s, the state put in the contracts this provision called inspection resolution. So the buyers, as part of their due diligence, they have a right to do an inspection. It does say in the contract, the home is sold as is, where is, with all its faults. Okay, but the buyer could inspect anything they want, and they can bail out for any reason they want. But if they put in writing, they'll say, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we want to buy the house, but here's my list of things that need to be fixed for us to move forward. Okay. Then the response from the seller is called inspection resolution, which is, okay, Mr. Buyer, I'll fix this and this, but not that. Or maybe I'll fix all of it. Once the buyer and seller reach agreement, they both sign that resolution. Great. The contract's moving forward. And then we're finalizing the appraisal and the loan, and we're getting to the finish line. However, if the buyer and seller don't reach agreement on that document on that day, the contract automatically terminates and the buyer gets their earnest money, and it opens the door for another buyer to get the house. So the first time I learned about this, thank God it wasn't through one of my clients, was for some reason this guy got a hold of my number when I was, kind of early in the real estate, kind of young in the real estate business. And he called me and he was very frustrated. He was trying to buy a home on the northwest part of town. He'd written an inspection objection with 15 different repair requests. In the meantime, the seller had a backup offer. Now, there's no requirement for the seller to tell the buyer they had a backup offer. There's also no requirement for the seller to answer the objection. They could just ignore the objection. But if that deadline of resolution comes and goes and the buyer does not withdraw their objection, that contract terminates and it opens the door for that backup buyer to get the house, which is exactly what happened to that one person who wasn't my customer. He was just so frustrated because he was living an extended stay. He thought he was going to buy a house. His agent did not tell him that if he didn't withdraw his objection by that deadline, it would open the door for somebody else to get the house. And that's what happened to him. And he had to go shopping for a different home. So he was pretty frustrated. So that's why it's a very critical deadline that we have to track. And the thing that amazes me is that these days, a lot of the agents will abdicate those kind of tracking responsibilities to an unlicensed, quote, transaction coordinator. So in the state of Colorado, there's no license for a transaction coordinator. There's no job description. There's no responsibility or authority of that person. But the agents are like, I'm a salesperson. My job is to go get contracts. I'm going to just move on and go try to grab this other buyer, get them under contract, and forget about all these deadlines. And they literally abdicate it to this unlicensed, unqualified person. And I've seen these agents blow major deadlines like that because they just let it go. They paid somebody $300 to track their deadlines and they didn't do it. So It doesn't make sense to me what goes on. It's very important that you pay attention, because for the buyers and sellers, this is the most important thing to them, right? And how would you feel if you were doing your most important thing and all of a sudden a person you thought was working for you just abdicated the whole work to someone else? So it just, I don't know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You got to pay attention in this world. So once the buyer and seller have gotten past the inspection, then it's appraisal. So there's one out for the seller for inspection, only if the buyer fails to withdraw their objection. That opens the door to get another buyer. Okay. But let's say we get past that, then the appraisal comes along. An appraisal is an opinion of value done by a licensed person that confirms that the home is worth the agreed upon sales price at or above, and that the home meets the loan guidelines. So that's another tricky part in our contract, especially for a lot of people in this market are getting FHA and VA loans. So the appraisal house lender property requirements are a little bit stricter than for conventional, meaning things like peeling paint on the outside would get tagged by an appraiser. I just had one a few weeks ago where the fence was leaning over a little bit in one section. So a lot of buyers agents assume that, hey, the appraiser said this has to be fixed for the buyer to get their loan. So they punted that task to me. And I said, hold on, you already got your concession for inspection stuff. You didn't ask for that. And now you're saying because the appraiser wants it, you want the seller to do it. I'm like, no, it's the buyer's loan. The buyer can do it. So to satisfy the appraiser, the buyer had to go resupport the fence to meet the loan guidelines. It doesn't say in the contract who fixes it. It says it has to be done, or if they have to just notify the seller if that's a problem. So in general, inspections can cause pretty much any reason for it to fall apart. Appraisals, occasionally, it doesn't happen as often. And then, of course, loan approval. And occasionally, some buyers just change their mind. What's interesting is like places like Texas, the buyer has 10 days to do their due diligence. And after that point, their earnest deposit's non-refundable. That's not the case in the state of Colorado. We protect our sellers, but I will tell you that if the buyer changes their mind at the closing table, at the finish line, if that seller is not protected, the buyer could walk away and get their earnest money back, but we protect them. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. My name is Barb Schlinker, the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about the contract process and whether or not a home seller can walk. So when we come back, we're just going to touch on some protections that you should have in place when you go under contract. Richard?
Now, Barb, we're discussing the real estate contracts, the provisions, and what can be inserted or not into those contracts to protect both the buyers and the sellers. We know that buyers have plenty of ways to get out of a contract, but what are some contract provisions that actually help the home sellers?
Well, if a buyer comes to you and says, hey, Mr. Seller, will you reserve this house for me and wait for me to sell my home that's not on the market yet? As a home seller, Richard, how would you feel about that?
I would not feel very good about that at all.
No, there's no certainty in that deal. Yet I get offers like that all the time. And so if a buyer has a house to sell, they have a problem. They want to pull their equity out of their home to buy their next home. Maybe their current home needs to be paid off before they can buy their next home. And of course, they don't want to move twice. I understand that. We actually have solutions for those buyers. We can typically get a half dozen cash offers for just about any address in the country and solve that problem for them. Plus, if you're worried about something like an appraisal, we have lenders that will do an appraisal guarantee. So if you're a buyer, it's just like buying with cash. So if you are thinking of making a move and you want to have some protections in place when you're selling a home, we know how to do that. Give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. I have over 28,280 buyers just on my little website. Typically, I can match over 1,000 of them to your home, and we can market directly to those buyers so you can maximize your sales price. Call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And remember, if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900, or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to sell your Colorado home for the most money. Stay tuned for that.
I hope that made sense.
It did.
Every time I explain that, it's like, God, is this making sense to people?
No, it makes dollars, not cents. Richard had to run to the restroom.
Right. This morning, the pup got up at 5:20 or something. So I take him out. It's dark, right? I open the front door and he just bolts. And I'm like, what are you doing? And
He smelled a
saw
deer.
he saw a bunny. He saw a bunny. He started chasing this bunny across out of the yard. I'm like, first of all, he's never going to catch the bunny. But I was, and then on the other tree, I could hear this hawk. I'm like, oh God, this is not good.
No good will come of this.
No, I take a flashlight with me, because he chased a coyote out of the yard last week.
Good
Stupid.
boy.
Well, he was thinking, I'm sure he was thinking, oh, don't you want to play with me? No.
You look like me, kind of.
I know, yeah. Poor bunny. I've had a safe place for him to live in our yard for years, and all of a sudden he gets this woolly mammoth chasing after him in the morning.
What's that? When did they get that?
Poor little creature. I didn't know how he saw him. That's the part that's amazing to me.
Well, their sight is better than ours, and their scent is.
I'm wondering, yeah, he probably could, and don't they have better night vision, dogs?
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah.
And their eyes adjust faster to the less light.
Yeah, I just barely walk out on the steps and all of a sudden takes off. I'm like,
Where are you going? Get on back here.
I'm just, it's the other creatures I worry about, not so much the bunny and the coyote or God knows what. There's mountain lions, there's bears.
Big old elk could probably take him out too.
Yeah, we walked him on a lead yesterday, and there were about 4 deer in the neighbor's yard, and we wouldn't let him. We were trying to just act like nothing was going on, you know. But he figured it out pretty quick. He's like, I'm gonna go over there. I'm like, no, it's not gonna end well if you go over there. Because you don't know what they do. My brother had a black lab, and she was just a barker. And there was this buck out in the front yard, and she went right up to him. Yeah, 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 yeah. He took his antlers and pinned her to the grass. He didn't hurt her body,
Yeah.
but he had his antlers
Caged her
spread
in.
eagle. Huh?
Caged her in.
Yes. She never messed with one of those again. That's, but
Well,
what if he missed?
yeah.
No, it'll hurt her.
Yeah. Well, they finally charged the Charlie Kirk shooter.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Any federal charges?
No, and that's probably a good thing because it's harder to prove federal laws broken.
Hmm.
And Utah has better state laws that could instill the death penalty. So
I was listening to the radio yesterday, and they were talking about the Oxford Debate Club, and apparently the president-elect was saying something like, yeah, if people are saying that, then you should take them out no matter what, you know. And I'm like, okay, so if I get this right, if I don't agree with what you're saying, I should kill you, right? Just flip it around the other way. Is that what you're saying? That's what he was saying.
yeah, that's just ridiculous. And the thing that gets me about it is university was always a place to exchange ideas. You know,
Right.
you talk about it, you overanalyze it, you break it all down, and you have an honest debate. It's not about one person being right or wrong. It's okay, this is what I'm going to gravitate towards, and this is how you find out who you really are.
Yeah, it used to be that way. I remember when I was going, it's in the 90s, I was going to junior college, and I took 2 political science courses. One of them was just like what you described, where he had the students pick a side of the topics of the day and present, right? But the other one, it was a he didn't attend classes. It was kind of like a self-study thing. But he'd put together this quote textbook of literally all this propaganda, you know, corporate bad, business bad, you know. Anyway, so I took the test. Afterwards, I went up to the professor, and I confronted him about it. I said, this is a bunch of crap. This isn't even reality. You just picked your points of view from some articles that were offshore, you know. And he was surprised I said that to him. That's me.
Well, no,
Tell you what
it's surprising how many liberals are actually teachers, and
yeah, it's kind of scary. I think that'd be a good job in retirement.
And then
Yeah.
we wonder how so many young people get indoctrinated.
Yeah. It's a sad thing.
I have to say that it doesn't happen in high school unless the groundwork is laid. But looking back, my kids did complain about one teacher and they got rid of him. He's kind of bad, but by and large, I thought certainly in elementary school, the teachers were great. In high school, the majority of them were great. But man, at least for my two kids, things really changed when they went to college. And
Did they change?
yes,
Oh,
they went from being pretty conservative when they graduated high school to being very liberal now. And
oh boy.
both of them loved guns. They loved owning guns. They loved shooting guns. My daughter loved wearing her Magnum swag. And my son was he was more pro-life than I am. I mean, and both of them had gay friends and stuff. In fact, that was just a given, but it just wasn't a big deal. I mean, it wasn't a big deal, but man, coming out of college, something different. I need to talk with them, try to get a handle on just what changed. Cause I don't know if it's the professors or just the overall, feel of the university or the other peers that they're hanging out with or what, but something changed. Yeah. All right. All right. Let's see. My throat is it's been bad and I keep trying to drink.
Mine too.
It just gets kind of creaky as time goes by here. Let me get a new clock up. I got a new clock and then we're going. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, in this market, there are many more homes that are not selling. So what are ways that a home seller can get the most money when they're selling their home?
Well, Richard, a lot of people, the traditional thought process is, can I price it high for a negotiating room? But the problem is right now, the buyers are so well educated on whether or not the home is a good buy because they are looking at everything available in that particular criteria. If they're looking for a home with acreage, they know if it's a good buy or not. If they're looking for a home in a traditional neighborhood, they know if it's a good buy. So if it's at the top of their price point, they just won't go see it. You're going to get instant feedback from the market if you overprice a home. And of course, most home sellers want to get the most money when they sell. But and a lot of people want the certainty that they know that their home is going to sell so they could buy their next one. But the way most people do it is they just price it too high, trying to get the most amount of money. And then it sits on the market week after week, month after month with no sale. So a real simple plan is a way that you could save thousands. A lot of people, if you price a home too high, and then you slowly walk the price down, according to the National Association of Realtors, you're actually going to net less money. You're always better off being priced as the best home on the block, in the price, in condition, at the time it goes on the market. If you don't do that, then you're kind of like another commodity, like going to a car dealership and seeing a sea of cars, like, whatever, maybe I'll pick a green one, right? So it's really, really critical to present the home as the best deal and marketed as the best price. And we know that 100% of buyers now are searching online. That's where most of the elimination is taking place. So the buyers are going, oh, yep, no, based on, you have less than 60 seconds to make an impression with a buyer online. That is your first showing. If you don't pass the test, guess what? They don't want to come look at your home. You're going to be able to tell that instantly by the number of showings. So part of it is pricing and part of it is marketing. And I love looking at bad pictures of houses online because it tells me the agent really didn't make the effort to present the home properly, or they just didn't know how to do it. So I'm showing an example right now of a house that you can see the big kitty litter box. There's a bunch of junk on the counter. You can see the listing agent in the photo in the mirror. The shower curtain's covering half the tub. Did you know if the shower curtain is closed, people assume there's mold back there? Did you know that, Richard?
I did not know that, but it kind of makes sense, quite honestly. If you had nothing to hide, why wouldn't you have it open where
Right.
people?
Why is that? Oh, how come you're not showing me that? I mean,
Right?
they they are making a decision based on those pictures out of the gate on whether or not they're going to spend their gas money to go look at this house. So most agents approach marketing as what I call post and hope. They stick pictures in the multiple listing service. They have gotten better about doing professional photos, but they don't already um, they don't necessarily know how to stack the photos or how to make the photos look great, how to tell the seller to make the photos look great. They just take it the way it is and hope somebody wants to grab it. So if a buyer is buying a house and they have a house to sell, most agents don't have a solution for that, right? We do. We have a cash offer platform where we can get them offers on their home and solve that problem, which makes your home absolutely more sellable. And we call it our trade up program. It's kind of like the car business, where they'll buy you out of your lease or they'll do a trade up and put the difference on the loan, things like that. But we have several different companies that actually offer something called a buy now, sell later option. One of them will pay cash for your destination home, which is really incredible, and then give you time to sell your current home. So that's critical for some people because they need their equity out. Maybe they're not sure if they're going to get a loan at their next destination. And they just have to have okay credit and have at least 20% equity in their home. Just so you know, not all real estate agents are the same. It's 1 month of school to be a real estate agent. There's very little training, very little standardization. The good agents are taking the time to try to learn stuff by going to classes or having a good mentor. But at the end of the day, they are not all the same. The programs are not the same. It absolutely is not a generic service. So you want to make sure when you pick an agent when you're selling a home that you've got somebody that helps you win no matter what the situation is. So we're talking about the different ways that you can get your home for the most money. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And it's called The Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday from 11 to 12 on AM 740 KVOR. Plus, we record it. We put it up on my YouTube channel. We put it audio all over these podcasts. So you have access to it no matter where you are. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
We're here talking with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. Barb, you've highlighted 3 of those 5 keys to maximizing your sales price when you're selling a home. Be the best home on the block, be great at demanding and aggressive with marketing, and also solve buyer problems. But tell us about the last 2.
Well, let's talk about negotiating. Now, I have always found this topic really, really interesting because there's very little training that goes on for negotiating, but the public expects the agents to know how to negotiate. Unfortunately, they just become overpaid messengers. They'll ask the buyer how much they want to offer. They put together the offer, they email it over, and it goes for there. There's no discussion that takes place. And there should be a discussion. There should be conversations that take place between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. And it's really weird. Like just a few weeks ago, I got a lowball offer from an agent, and they were demanding a lot of things out of the gate. We want a low price. We want you to pay all of our closing costs. And oh, by the way, our insurance company demands that you put on a new roof just because that roof is just over 10 years old. That's the only way we're going to go into contract with you. How does that sound? Does that sound like a win-win negotiation? That's what she said to me, Richard. What do
Well,
you
they
think?
don't teach negotiation in real estate school. They don't teach marketing in real estate school. You've learned it over a couple of decades, but a lot of people just have no clue at all.
They don't. And I feel like they're not trained to really position the home properly. Like I have a home it's under contract now, but before it was under contract, it had a lot of condition issues. It had structural settling. It was a repossessed home. The agent didn't do any homework, not about the market or about the house, even though that was available to the agent. She met the buyer at the house. They walked in the door. They were surprised at the condition. So, what's the first thing the agent does? Throws me under the bus, saying I should have told them about that. I'm like, well, I did if you had read what was on your phone or what was in the MLS. And then the buyer's mad because I wasted their time, somebody else's client's time to go look at this listing. Now, just big picture, the home was priced more than 100,000 below current similar sales. That's a clue. But had the agent actually done any research about what that home might be worth before they showed the house or what it said in the MLS, it could have been a different outcome or a different story. So it's really interesting now that the buyer's expectation is that if it's not perfect when I get there, if it's not a screaming deal, then I'm not happy that I spent my time looking at it. And I try to be factual as much as possible, but we run into a lot of roadblocks. Like in that case, I thought, okay, fine, I'll change the description. I'll put in the public description that it has structural settling and it's owned by the VA and they're offering it as is. But the MLS, the local multiple listing service run by the National Association of Realtors, forced me to take those words out of there. You can't say that. I said, why? It's about the condition of the home. They said, because it's financial. I'm like, what's financial? And they said the word the VA. I said, well, the VA is the owner. So that's the kind of stuff that we're up against. So I found a way to get it online so the buyers would see it. And it had a happy ending. The happy ending was that we did get it under contract, but because I publicly shared the information, I got a lot more buyers calling me, asking questions to find out more information. And for me, that's a good thing. So it's really, really important when you're negotiating to make sure you're asking the right questions, especially if you're working with a buyer. What's important to the seller? A lot of them will just shove an offer and they don't even contact me and they assume that the seller wants to close in like 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. I actually had one buyer a few months ago say, hey, can your buyer move in a week? In a week. Imagine you've got a house full over 3,000 square feet, Richard. More than that, it's a bigger house than that. And they asked them, can you get out in a week? Because if not, we're not going to make an offer.
What? What?
That's what I'm saying. It's not even logical. So, you got to work with the buyers to tell them what's reasonable and what's not. I don't care about their demands. Go find an empty house, if that's what you're looking for. And then pricing, it's absolutely critical. If you overprice a home, it will repel buyers. But if you price it right, just slightly below similar sales, slightly below similar competition, it will attract buyers, oftentimes more buyers than one. And then you can potentially get multiple offers on the home. It works every time in any kind of market. So that's part of what we help our clients do day in and day out. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com and we will help you get the most money when you sell your home. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice. She is your real estate voice. She's with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, the owner proprietor. And you can always reach Barb at 719 301 3900. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the top seller mistakes that can cause a home not to sell, plus Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that. I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second there. You know what? So Robert Redford died, and that's got me thinking. I've always been fascinated with the real life Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and Etta Place, who was the female friend of Sundance Kid. Well, there are reports that she spent a couple of years toward the end of her life, or after she came back from Patagonia, in Denver for a couple of years. Maybe had some medical stuff done there. Maybe an appendectomy. Some people say, well, maybe it was an abortion, and it was whatever. I don't know. I do know that in one book, like 15 years ago, I found an address that they thought she lived at. So I drove up to Denver, and I'm like, wow, well, look at that house right there. That's where she lived at, right? And I remember talking to the person who was living there at the time. They had no idea. They probably thought I was crazy or something like that. So I just popped in the address into online, and of course it pops up Zillow. But it's got this tiny little home, and it's $803,000. And I mean, I know how small it is because I was there, but it's saying 3 bedrooms, 2 bathroom, and I'm like 2,200 square feet. What? And I'm like, oh my gosh. But here's the question. So if you and I and DJ wanted to go up and buy that home, and then we left it because it looks great on the outside, especially on the inside, it looks great. And we wanted to sell it, but we wanted to sell it saying, well, it's not confirmed, but there are some pretty good reports that this may have been where Sundance Kid's girlfriend lived for a couple of years. Could we actually put that in a listing?
Well, I could. I don't know if the MLS would strip it out or not, but anytime there's a house that has some kind of fame to it, either it's occupants or something happened there, it tends to sell for more money.
Yeah.
Definitely does, if the public knows that, you know.
Well, and that's what I was thinking, because I know that if it's something bad, like there'd been a murder there or something like that, we've talked about that before. I don't know. It just got me curious. And so I'm like, okay, well, let me look at that place again. And I looked it up, and I'm like, dang, I didn't realize. And there's a ton of small little homes there. I guess it's close to Washington Park, and some of them $1 million and stuff. I have no idea of the value of real estate, I think, is what it really comes down to.
It is different there.
Yeah.
Depends on where you are. I did.
Okay. Let's
the
see.
female actor or are you talking about the real person?
The real person. In fact, I met the female actor up at a film festival in Cripple Creek. She was very nice. But the real life person, yeah, apparently. And it's one of those things where I think when I saw it in the book, people thought it was, true. And now when I just popped it in, AI is saying, well, there were reports of that, but it hasn't been verified. Who knows? I mean, you're trying to go back to the early 1900s to try to sort through this. And she may have, I don't know, did she buy the house? I don't think so. Maybe she just rented there. Who knows? I'm always curious I love history. And yeah, I'm always
Have you ever seen videos of Patagonia?
Yes. Do you want to go or what?
No.
No?
Remote.
Oh my gosh. My daughter and I can't wait to go. It's like Switzerland in South America.
South America, yeah.
And so we have the ranch where Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid, and this woman lived, which is a real thing down there. There are photographs of it. Plus, we have where I am 95% certain that Adolf Hitler ended up spending the rest of his life at a very Bavarian-looking home on a lake down there in Patagonia.
I thought they waxed him. in World War II.
That's what they said, but it turns out there's a lot more to that story. And even the FBI was looking for him in South America. The Russians said, nope, you had this body in this skull, but it turns out that wasn't him. It's the DNA doesn't even match up, and the age and stuff. So I think there's a good chance he escaped. Very good chance, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, I got one more to go here. I'm sorry to take up so much time.
Okay.
Wait, hang on a second. I got something from I'm glad I don't have a 1 o'clock. All right, I'm sorry, daughter there. All right, let's go. And we'll hit the ground running in 3, 2, 1. Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you how to sell or buy real estate with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers have a great deal of love for their properties, of course, and sometimes that translates into a bit of unrealistic belief, resulting in mistakes that could cost them thousands or even the house not selling. What are the top seller mistakes that can cause a home to either not sell or to sell for far less than was expected?
Well, Richard, it's very interesting, the whole real estate world, because the sellers are guessing at what their home will sell for, and the buyers are trying to get the best deal they can, right? And so sellers can't really rely on Zillow. You can't even rely on the average similar sales. Sometimes you can get a clue based on the active competition, but at the end of the day, it's the market that decides what the home is going to sell for. But I can help a home seller pick a good price that will make it very, very desirable. And it's hard because, most home sellers are not objective. They live there, they love it, they have some sort of emotional, historic attachment to the house, but the buyers don't, right? So you have to be objective when you position the home. To put it on the market, both with price and with condition, and try to look at it from a buyer's perspective. Maybe get somebody that you trust to look at it objectively and say, hey, tell me the truth, like I'm your best friend, right? And tell me what you think. Would you buy that home? Do you think it's overpriced, right? Little things can cause buyers to reject homes. Condition issues, bad carpet, broken stuff, bad curb appeal. All these things are enough to make a buyer reject. As many as 41% of buyers reject the home without even going by to look at it, right? So there's all these, what I call seller mistakes that home sellers make before they put their homes on the market. And the number one thing is a failure to make the important improvements in the house if it's necessary. So a lot of people think, well, if I just replaced a 25-year-old furnace and it's time to replace it, can I raise the price by the $5,000 or $10,000 I just spent on the furnace? And the answer is no. The buyers are expecting the systems to be updated and functional. Okay. So even though you might have updated, improved, you can't necessarily tack that on to the price, because that is the expectation, is that you have good functional systems. And you have to really take a look at what's on the market and be very realistic about what buyers are attracted to. First of all, it's mostly cosmetics out of the gate. So if you have homes with tired carpet, really dead landscaping, or some of these obvious things that need to be resolved, there's two solutions. One is you fix it. The other one is you don't fix it, but you price it below what it would cost to fix it. And that would work too. In fact, that would probably make it sell faster. I just spoke to a buyer today that knows that this home he's going to look at is a fixer-upper. I told him everything there was to know about it, as far as, well, the carpet's gone because it smelled bad. And, it's got, the basement bathroom's trashed, but he goes, but I know, but it's got good bones and I want a fixer upper. So that tells me it's priced in such a way that that would attract a buyer, because at that price, they're willing to put their own work into it in order to turn it to full market value. And pictures are absolutely critical when you go on the market. That is basically the judge and jury for the buyers. It starts with price, but then they're looking at pictures. And if they don't like what they see, you've got less than a minute to make an impression and they're moving on. So some of the things that you can do are really, really simple. Go ahead and take some pictures of your house and look at the clutter. It may not show up really obviously to you, but it does to most buyers, and it gets even worse when it's in a photo. Another mistake could be making improvements after it's on the market. Now, that's okay. It's okay to do that if you find that it's not working. Typically, there is a little bit of ramp up time from the time you go into the market before the buyers kind of get a clue that it's out there and they want to go look at it. However, if it's priced very aggressively, a lot of the buyers are jumping on it right away. The number 3 mistake, which I talk about all the time, is pricing too high. That's a problem. If you overprice a home, according to the National Association of Realtors, you will net less money in the end, especially if you slowly walk the price down. If you price at or below current market value, you're probably going to net the most money, which it seems just opposite to most people. But it's critical that you're the best home in the neighborhood. And the market's going to tell you right out of the gate if you got that wrong. If you have no showings, you're overpriced. If you have just a few showings, you're probably 3 to 5, maybe 10% overpriced. If you're having showings but no offers, you're probably 2 to 5% overpriced. And if you're getting offers, you're in the ballpark, just steady as you go. You just got to wait for the right buyer to come along. And you can tell pretty much right away. Like I've got a picture next to me right now on a home that I sold recently, very, very nice location, southwest part of town. But the house itself had some work that needed to be done, not major stuff, a few tiles missing, the furnace needed to be replaced. The similar sales are probably in the mid 5s. He priced it in the low 5s. We had 87 people at the open house, and it ended up selling for $35,000 over asking price, right at similar retail sales. But had we priced it that way, at the price that it sold at, people wouldn't even come to look at it. It's just kind of interesting how that happens. I have another one, same thing. They fixed everything they needed to fix, touch up the flooring. They didn't really have to redo much, painted the cabinets white, put in some nice tile. Similar sales between 375 and 4. We just priced it just kind of at the high end of those prices. And we had a huge crowd at that open house, and it sold for 10% over asking. So it really depends on the price range. Another example would be pricing it, too low. You can price it too low. There are a lot of assumptions that take place. If you're priced too low, they think that there's something wrong. So there's a fine line, and you want to hire an expert to help you do that. And that's part of what we do. Number 5 mistake is letting your agent take bad pictures. You don't have to show every nook and cranny. In fact, certain areas really don't look good in photos no matter what. Things like closets, especially if there's clothes in there, the inside of garages, unless those garages have been completely refinished and they're empty. Other than that, you don't want to take those pictures. Unfinished basements aren't that pretty, and clutter is not your friend. Magnets on the refrigerator, a bunch of junk on the counter, that has to go, because we know that buyers are eliminating homes based on the online presentation. And mistake number 5 is just doing this on your own. If you decide, well, I don't need a real estate agent, I don't want to pay that commission or whatever. Okay, I understand it. And you could probably put your house up in some of the big websites like Zillow, and you might get an offer. But according to the National Association of Realtors, most home sellers net a lot less money selling by owner than they would on the open market. And you have to keep in mind, a large percentage of the buyers are way younger than me, right? They're in their 30s, 40s. Do you want me to stop?
No, I'm sorry. Somebody was at the window here and wanted to come into the studio, and I was letting them know that we were almost done here.
Oh, okay.
You know what? I completely forgot that you saw me over there. No,
I'm like,
continue.
you're like telling me, stop. I'm
No,
like,
no, continue if you would. Thank you.
okay. So if you've got younger buyers, even in the price ranges that are higher, you need to try to position the home like that, make it more austere. They don't like clutter, I will tell you that. And do things to try to impress those people, because they're very into technology. They're very into making a decision quite quickly. And you want to make sure that you position the home to attract that buyer. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. So if you are thinking of making a move and you'd like to have a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, it's time for the lightning round. Some of your hot new listings. Tell us about them.
Yes, I have a great home, 2436 North Meade Avenue, priced at $325. This home is an adorable ranch with a one-car garage. It's got gleaming hardwood floors, nice windows, and we're already having calls on that one. Another great home on 4569 East Crest Circle West, priced at $299. Fresh paint on the outside, new roof, backs to open space, great property at $299. Great home on 8230 Camfield Circle in Briargate, gleaming hardwood floors, granite counters, priced at $439,999. A home owned by the VA down in Fountain on 919 Rancher, priced at $325,500. 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, needs a little bit of work, but it's got good bones. We also have a great home on 1438 East 13th Avenue in Pueblo, priced at $359,000 with a pool and a detached big 2-car garage. A couple of great properties on North Rush Road. One's at $374,900 on 2 acres. The other is at $464,900 on 9 acres. Both of them back to open space. Beautiful, quiet area. Great home on the west side, 610 North Tower Road, priced at $499,000. They were able to rent out the basement of this home and command almost $15,000 a year Airbnb. Great home on Carr Avenue in Cripple Creek, priced at $292,000. Would be a fabulous rental property right there in downtown Cripple Creek. Another spectacular home in Briargate, 8930 Coberdale Court, priced at $359,000. Gorgeous home with remodeled kitchen and master with a 3-car garage, great backyard at $659,000. Fabulous home, 477 Pinecrest Road in Woodland Park, on 4 acres, spectacular views, detached 3-car, plus covered parking for the 4th car and all your toys, priced at $599,000. Stunning home on 1240 Big Valley, priced at $699,000 with an extra detached garage and a remodeled kitchen. Amazing home down in Walking Stick 9 Royal Troon in Pueblo at $550,000. Beautiful home, almost 4,500 square feet. Another gorgeous home with fresh carpet, 5081 Broadmoor Bluffs Drive at $684,999. If you're in Canyon City, you don't want to miss this beautiful home, very Southwesty style, with RV parking, gorgeous finishes on the inside, priced at $125 million. Great home on 16145 Open Sky Way in a gated community, High Forest Ranch, priced at $2.1 million. And a beautiful lot, 624 Hidden Valley in Lake George. To find out about all of our coming soon properties, go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on our featured homes to see all that, or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every weekend. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on barbhasthebuyers.com or listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms like Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, many, many others. Thank you for listening. And again, to reach out to Barb, just call 719-301-3900. Thank you for listening, Barb. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk with you next week.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. What do we want to do here? Is now
I like to change the